morning or good evening, depending on where you're joining us online today. I would like to welcome everyone to the Global Forum, 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University. My name is Haimi Kim, and I have the honor and pleasure of serving as your MC today for this Global Forum. Nice to meet you, everyone. Especially today is a very special day. This is because it's the day of the inauguration of the 20th President of the Republic of Korea as we celebrate the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University. Since many guests are participating in the presidential inauguration ceremony, today's forum was attended by video message. I would like to take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to all those who attended this conference via video message. The 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University Global Forum is being lively broadcasted through the YouTube channel of this Global Forum called Global Forum YU's 75th Anniversary. As you can see, we also have simultaneous interpretation service for our multinational audience. So if you need simultaneous interpretation, please use the receiver on your table. Channel 1 is for Korean and channel 2 is for English. And I would also like to ask the online audience to choose your language of preference. You can listen either in English or in Korean. And we have a hybrid forum today. So we have some of the distinguished guests today offline, and most of the participants are joining us online. Many people are joining us online, so please greet us by waving your hand. Please give them a big round of applause. So we have many participants joining us both online and offline. All the sessions will be live streamed through YouTube, so I would like to ask you for your continued interest throughout this conference. This global forum is commemorating the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University, and the theme of the Global Forum is the role of education for the co-prosperity in the global community, and it will be a 2-day forum. Today we have 3 sessions in total. First of all, in the first session, we will be talking about the educational paradigm shift according to the changes in the global milieu. And in the second session, we are going to share the experiences of Yeungnam University's education to share Korea's development experience with developing countries. And in the last session, we're going to have discussions on the role of education for the co-prosperity in the global community and Yeungnam University's role. So I hope that these 3 sessions can be useful to all participants. I would like to introduce to you those who willingly participated in the messages, in sharing their messages for the successful hosting of this global forum. I would like to first thank Mr. Pan Ki-moon, the 8th UN Secretary General, for participating as a keynote speaker. And thank you, Mr. David Beasley, the UN World Food Program Director. And we also have a total of 4 people who sent congratulatory remarks. German Ambassador to Korea, Mr. Michael Reiffenstuel, and Director Lee Char-woo of Yeungnam University Alumni Association, and Cambodian Minister Hang Chuon Naron of Education, Youth and Sports, and lastly, Mr. Dong-geun Taek, President of Korea University. Thank you very much. Now, let me introduce some of our distinguished guests who are gracing this occasion with their presence today. And the introduction will be conducted according to the order of moderations and presentations scheduled for this global forum. So when I call your name, please rise and greet the audience briefly. First of all, we are joined by the Honorable Dr. Yoon Sang-dik, Chair of Session 1, who is currently serving as Senior Advisor of Chuon LLC, who also assumed the position of former Minister of Trade, Industry, and Energy of the Republic of Korea. Thank you very much. Please greet him with a big round of applause. Next, we are also joined by the Honorable Dr. Shin Sung-chul, the keynote speaker of Session 1 today, who served as the 16th President of KAIST. Please welcome him with a big hand. Next, I would like to introduce the Honorable Mr. Kim Young-mo, President of Grace and Mercy Foundation, Korea. And I would like to introduce President King Rotana of the Western University of Cambodia. And we are also joined by the Distinguished Chair of Session 3, Dr. Lee Hyo-soo, who served as the 13th President of Yeungnam University. We also have Mr. Tae Roeng from Cambodia's Western University. As you all know, this global forum is designed to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University, so we have numerous distinguished participants from Yeungnam University. First, we are joined by Dr. Choi Wei-chul, President of Yeungnam University. We also have Dr. Han Dong-geun, head of the project commemorating Yeungnam University's 75th anniversary, who's also serving as the Executive Vice President for Industrial Academic Research. We also have Dr. Kim Jae-chun, the Executive Vice President for Educational Innovation of Yeungnam University. We are also joined by Dr. Lee Han-bum, Executive Vice President for Business Strategy. Last but not least, we also have Dr. Park Sung-hoo, Executive Vice President for International Education. Well, we also have Mr. Yoon Jong-jin, Director of the Local Government Officials Development Institute, and we also have Mr. Arthur Lee, who's joining us online. So please give them a big round of applause for taking part in this global forum. Other than those people who I just introduced, there are many distinguished guests who are watching us online and joining us offline. So thank you very much and welcome to the Global Forum. I hope that this forum could be useful and constructive to all of you. For your information, today's opening ceremony will consist of numerous congratulatory speeches and commemorative performance and a keynote speech. After the lunch break in the afternoon, our main sessions will begin starting from 1 p.m. So please keep this in mind. Now it's time for the opening remarks, which will be delivered by Dr. Han Dong-geun, head of the project commemorating Yeungnam University's 75th anniversary. Please welcome him to the podium with a big round of applause.
안녕하십니까?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Han Dong-geun, head of the 75th Anniversary Task Force of Yeungnam University. To commemorate its 75th anniversary, Yeungnam University prepared a two-day international forum on the topic of the role of education for co-prosperity of the global community. Today, we will hear from luminaries and experts on how the education paradigm should change for the future against the changes in the global environment. Tomorrow, we will hear from students about how they are exploring research path for the sake of global co-prosperity and about the strategy and method of developing their talent and capability to become global leaders. This forum will give us a chance to take stock of Yeungnam University's 75-year dedication to developing talent to serve our people and to present the educational vision and strategy for the future 75-year ambition of developing talent to serve our humankind. The COVID pandemic has shown that the international community is indeed one community of destiny and that we cannot address pressing issues without global efforts. This is not limited to health and medical fields. Environment, poverty, food, refugees, human rights, gender, trade and finance, privacy, security, and ICT related ethics are all challenges that call for collaboration among the world's citizens, organizations, and governments. Thus, the kind of education and talent needed by the time are changing. Education should be more focused on enabling students to be creative and convergent, equipped with macro insights, going beyond simple acquisition of knowledge. It is thus meaningful to seek the future direction and muster our wisdom for university education. Particularly for Korea, now recognized as a developed country, it is highly important to share its growth experience with developing countries and to present the future for global education to help shared prosperity of humankind. To this day, Yeungnam University has worked on education of global talent who can lead development in developing countries. Thus, it is also meaningful for us to look back and assess our work to develop global talent. I look forward to the two-day forum to help share the insights of distinguished luminaries and present the path to innovate university education, effective strategies, and educational models to develop talent for the humankind. Let me thank all the leaders for joining us today, both online and offline, despite your busy schedule. Thank you.
네, Thank you very much. That was Dr. Han Dong-geun, head of the project commemorating Yeungnam University's 75th anniversary, who's also serving as the executive vice president of Yeungnam University. Thank you very much, Dr. Han. Please give him another round of big applause. Thank you. Next, a welcome remark will be delivered by Dr. Oe-chool, president of Yeungnam University. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
감사합니다.
Thank you very much. I would like to sincerely thank everyone who joined us in today's event. Well, I prepared a short welcoming remarks, but I think it would be better to share my sincere words of thank you, of gratitude and welcome to the participants. Honorable Dr. Shin Sung-chul of KAIST University. I think not many of you might know him, but for interpretation purpose, I would like to speak slower. But Mr. Shin Sung-chul has been serving for Yeungnam University as a director of Yeungnam University's foundation. And those of you who are sitting here in the front row are those who should participate in the presidential inauguration ceremony of today, but instead they chose to grace this global forum with their presence. So I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all of you who decided to participate. I also want to thank Mr. Kim Young-mo, former president of KOICA. Thank you very much. And we also have guests from the Western University of Cambodia, the president of Western University, and also the chairman of the trustee board are joining us. Thank you very much. And we also are joined by a former president of Yeungnam University who are sharing a lot of advice and insights for Yeungnam University. Mr. Lee Hyo-soo is here with us. Thank you very much for taking part in this global forum and serving a very important role for Yeungnam University. Looking back, I think Korea is a country that rose from extreme poverty. And I think the history of Yeungnam University and the history of Korea's national development are in line. I think it's not an exaggeration that we share history. Well, Korea was recognized by an international organization last year as an economically advanced country from being one of the poorest countries in the past. And according to the risen profile of the Republic of Korea, I think we have greater responsibility and role to play on the global stage. So we have to share the national development experience with the global community. And I think in that context, the role of Yeungnam University is also very important. As you might already know, Yeungnam University has been established by former President Park Chung-hee, who is recognized as a leader with a global leadership capability. So this year, we are not only commemorating the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University, but we are trying to extend our helping hand to the developing countries all around the world by learning lessons and deriving insights systematically from the past national development experience of the Republic of Korea. And I believe that is the role of Yeungnam University. In 1965, the GNI per capita was less than $70, but last year it increased by about 520 times. I don't think this national growth came easily. It was thanks to the efforts made by our ancestors, our fathers and mothers, and the toils of our brothers and sisters. So I think that we should be grateful for their efforts. Many foreigners often say that Koreans are sometimes negligent about how well they are living, and they are ignorant about the growth that they went through. So many Koreans are now enjoying a high standard of living. Korea's population and land size will probably account for less than 1% of the world. However, when it comes to exports, we rank number 6 in the world. I don't think I should talk in more detail to illustrate how Korea has grown significantly. So Yeungnam University should continue to serve the role as an educational platform nurturing global leaders. And we have accumulated capabilities in nurturing global leaders throughout our history. And based on this capability, I hope that Yeungnam University could contribute to the improvement of quality of life of the global community and also developing countries. We have participants from more than 20 countries joining us in this global event, and many people from around the world are visiting Yeungnam University to learn from Korea's development experience. If you take a look at the program of today's Global Forum, I think you would notice we have former UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, and other prominent presenters and discussants who are setting directions for the sustainable development goals of the global community. These are experts in SDGs. So we have keynote speeches for each session, and we also have discussants for each session. So I hope that you could learn a lot through these sessions prepared at this global forum. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Han Dong-geun, who made a lot of efforts to make this event possible, and all the organizers of this global forum. I am sure that you did your best in preparing for this global forum, and still, there may be some mistakes, but we can use that as an opportunity to make further improvements next time. And I would also like to thank Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who are participating as a keynote speaker. And I also want to thank Mr. David Beasley, Executive Director of WFP, and Ambassador Mikhail Reiffenstuel of Germany for taking part in this global forum. To meet your expectations and support, Yeungnam University will make sure that all the students of Yeungnam University will not only realize their dreams, but also support other people in realizing their dreams. Once again, thank you very much. I wish you health. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was President Oe-chool delivering his very meaningful opening and welcoming remarks. So thank you very much for the moving welcoming remarks. Once again, a big hand, please. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to congratulate the hosting of this event, we also have the congratulatory message from the Executive Director, David Beasley, of the World Food Program. And on his behalf, the message will be read by Director Kim Gi-soo of the Yeungnam University Institute for International Development. So I would now like to welcome Director Kim Gi-soo. Please welcome with a big round of applause.
This is a letter officially sent from the Executive Director of World Food Program to the President of Yeungnam University to congratulate today's Global Forum. On behalf of the Executive Director, let me read this impressive letter. Dear Dr. Choi, please accept my appreciation for your invitation to the Global Forum and congratulations on the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University, which has led the way in sharing the development experiences of the Republic of Korea, ROK. The United Nations World Food Program, WFP, is the largest international humanitarian organization and the UN's frontline agency for fighting hunger worldwide. ROK stands as a shining model of zero hunger, and we at the WFP are proud to witness ROK's transformation, inspiring the international communities. Our relationship with ROK stems back to 1963, when the conflict-stricken country appealed to WFP for food assistance. In that period of emergency food assistance and construction projects that lasted for 20 years, WFP was ROK's largest donor among currently existing UN agencies. ROK has risen from the ashes of the Korean War and has shown incredible national transformation, national development ever since. Within a single generation, ROK has transformed from being an aid recipient to one of our top 15 donors. This inspirational journey is a tremendous example of what we strive for at the WFP. The Semal spirit is a key example of what we at the WFP cherish, using the community as an anchor for development and sharing stories of growth to help others. With the support of Korean government, we have been seeing achievements through Semal Zero Hunger Communities project implemented by WFP in multiple communities. Yeungnam University stands in the center of this amazing movement, using its expertise in the Semal Undong to stimulate growth in vulnerable countries, and using education as a platform towards sustainable development. By combining Korea's development experience and WFP's implementation capacity on a large scale, we hope to utilize the Semal spirit to promote community cohesion and socioeconomic development in the coming years. WFP does not act alone, and we simply could not save lives and change lives without the tremendous support of our many partners, including institutes such as Yeungnam University. While sending our utmost appreciation to our partners, we would also like to urge that this support continues, especially amidst the current unprecedented hardships. Even before our world was turned upside down by COVID-19, 135 million people were marching on the brink of starvation, not knowing when or where their next meal might be. And today, because of the economic deterioration caused by the virus, the number has jumped to 283 million. This could spike further. The ring of fire that stretches from the Sahel to South Sudan, to Yemen, to Afghanistan, all the way around to Haiti and Central America, is driving millions of people to brink of starvation. Without immediate support to address the empty plates, soaring food prices, economic downturn, ruined crops, and violent conflict knocking on the door of already vulnerable countries, this will result in a devastating combination of mass starvation, destabilization, and migration. We hope the discussion at the Global Forum leads to a shared understanding of the role of education in building a brighter future free from hunger. Although we still have a long way to go before every child on the planet goes to bed with a full stomach, the story of ROK's past 60 years gives us hope that anything is possible with commitment, hard work, and determination. At WFP, we believe the ROK is a role model for other nations as we work toward ending hunger. Once again, congratulations on the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University, and we are excited to see more open platforms like these to understand the importance of saving lives and changing lives. Sincerely, David M. Beasley.
네, 데이비드 비즐리 UN 세계 식량
Thank you very much. That was a congratulatory message by His Excellency Mr. David Beasley, Executive Director of the World Food Program. Dr. Kim Gi-soo, Director of the Institute for International Development Cooperation at Yeungnam University, had just delivered his message on behalf of Mr. Beasley. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next, Ambassador Michael Reiffenstuel of Germany will virtually deliver his congratulatory remark. As you all know, Germany is proactively promoting international development cooperation through education. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency with a big round of applause.
Dear President Chair, dear Vice President Han, dear former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban, dear Governor Yi, dear President Chung. Education plays an important role in the development of countries. South Korea and Germany are both countries that have very few natural resources. Both countries are particularly dependent on what we call human resources. South Korea's development from one of the poorest countries in the world after the Korean War to a leading industrialized nation was only possible against the backdrop of substantial investment in education and research. The OECD, among others, repeatedly points this out. Because of its rapid development, South Korea is rightly a great role model for other countries. But we should not forget that the task of education is more than to promote the economic development of a country or to contribute to a person's personal prosperity. Education can do much more. Successful educational processes help a society to develop further. They stimulate thought and critical reflection and thus support democratic developments. On an individual level, education should enable a person to broaden his or her intellectual horizons and make him or her open to new experiences and sensations. Education should therefore be also a contribution to make people more happier. Seen in this light, education is of course much more than only knowledge. It is not primarily about knowing when a writer lives. Rather, it is about recognizing the aesthetic quality, for example, of a text and to interpret it. This is also true for natural sciences. Of course, it is good to know the circumference of the Earth, but this knowledge becomes really meaningful only when one has the idea of what this means for mankind and nature. It is often countered that this definition of education is a luxury definition of economically developed countries. I do not share this view. Rather, an education that is more than knowledge often enables a corresponding development. Think, for example, of creativity and the question of how to promote it. Creativity is an important driver for innovation and new inventions, and thus makes a crucial contribution to economic development. It is therefore vital for all states and societies. I wish you, with these thoughts, a very interesting conference. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. That was His Excellency German Ambassador to Korea, Michael Reiffenstuel. Thank you very much. And now, why don't we give another big round of applause to His Excellency Ambassador for his kind words.
This time, we're going to listen to another congratulatory remarks, which will be delivered by His Excellency Chuon Naron, Minister of Education of the Kingdom of Cambodia. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Dr. Ban Ki-moon, the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations. Dr. Choi Oe-chool, President of Yeungnam University. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the Yeungnam University for inviting me to the Global Forum on the role of education for co-prosperity in the global community. And I would like to congratulate the 70th anniversary of Yeungnam University, Republic of Korea. Taking this opportunity, I would like to share my view on the new role of education for the co-prosperity of humanity in the global community, especially education recovery after COVID-19 pandemic. The world is harmed by the COVID-19. However, we also see the role of technology and the Industrial Revolution to continue to shape global economic landscape and also the workforce. Education and training sector is also facing uncertainty after COVID-19. And in light of the disruptive technology, we have to think how we should prepare our young people for the future world of work and to make them ready for the adoption of Industry 4.0. Due to these uncertainties, the existing country education system should be reformed to upskill and reskill the workforce. The focuses should on the review on updating of school curriculum. However, this is not enough. We need to produce adequate high productivity workforce, especially the young generation, so that they become an asset in economic development, and especially for the post-COVID-19 growth. The role and function of higher education institutions have become increasingly important on national and regional and international agenda. Under the increasingly knowledge-driven global economy, higher education is one of the key sectors in social and economic development. The components of the innovation system by linking university, government, and industry are the constant and dynamic changes that we are facing now. They are subject to growing expectation from all key stakeholders, and that require a continued and increasing international competition and adoption of new technology. Globalization, rapid changes in technology have highlighted the imperative important for teachers and teacher educators to develop global perspectives and also to develop new teaching methods to help learners to become a self-regulated learner and lifelong learner for the global community. In the 21st century, I would like to stress the importance of digital technology and also digital skills that are necessary to succeed in technology-rich environment, such as the school, workforce, daily life activities, including online shopping, application for job, working online, and online education. Therefore, there is a need to develop a digital transformation of education system for inclusive and equitable quality education. This can pave the way and prepare young people for the future of work. In addition, we need to push forward for digital education through capacity development for teachers, provide digital equipment and other necessary facilities to ensure that schools are equipped with digital classroom in order to improve student learning outcome through the use of technology throughout the curriculum and provide distributed learning environment to all students by networking all computer to central server. Furthermore, schools need to be reformed in a new normal by focusing on sanitation and protection against COVID-19, continue school reform to make school accountable to parent and community, transform school culture, and encourage community participation in school management. With regard to the Yeungnam University, I can see that being a research university, the university has become a central institution of the 21st century. It is a nexus of science, scholarship, and new knowledge economies. Although Yeungnam University is not the only institution for conducting research, it serves the most effective institution for carrying out research. It is recognized that Yeungnam University has a key role in promoting the best possible outcomes in higher education. For instance, by ensuring appropriate levels of competition between higher education institutions as a stimulus for better performance, and by ensuring that higher education system is outward-looking both nationally and internationally. Yeungnam University also nurtures pools of well-educated workers who are able to learn, transform their learning into action, and adapt rapidly to the rapidly changing environment. I believe that Yeungnam University will continue to be on its own achievement and scale to new heights in the years to come. I look forward for a long-term and productive relationship with Yeungnam University, and I wish that Yeungnam University continue to grow and flourish in this uncharted area. In conclusion, I would like to wish Excellencies and gentlemen and all colleagues good health and please stay safe. Thank you for your kind attention.
네,
Thank you very much, His Excellency, Minister Chuon Naron of Cambodia. Thank you very much for your congratulatory message for the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University. And now, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, we are going to have Chairman Jung Jin-taek of Korean Association of Private University Presidents, also the president of Korea University, to deliver his congratulations. A big hand to welcome him, please. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jung Jin-taek, Chairman of Korean Association of Private University Presidents. Congratulations on the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University, the creator of talent development, leading the innovation in university education. We are now putting the 2 years of COVID hardship behind us as we welcome back our students to campuses with the spring blossoms and vibrancy. It is truly joyful to see our campuses regain their liveliness. At this auspicious time, I congratulate Yeungnam University as it welcomes its 75th anniversary with the Global Forum on Role of Education for Co-Prosperity of the Global Community. The humankind is faced with numerous complex challenges in a fast-changing world. For the challenges that individual countries cannot address alone, we need to work together to find common solutions. To do so from the perspective of education, which is the purview of universities, makes this forum all the more meaningful. Yeungnam University has developed over the past 75 years on its founding principles, patriotic spirit, educational spirit, and production instruction to contribute to creating new history for our people. Its 250,000 alumni are contributing to the nation's development in different corners of our society. Yeungnam University emphasizes the role of people as the most important in ensuring our people's development and new history for humankind. At the center of change and innovation should be warm-hearted people, a value which is embodied in the 75th anniversary slogan, 75 years for our people, 75 years for the world. And for the next 75 years, I'm sure Yeungnam University will develop talent who are creative, free, and warm-hearted, called for by the time, to contribute to shared prosperity of human society and open up the path for future generations. Once again, congratulations on Yeungnam University's 75th anniversary, and hope you continue on the path of global private university where the spirit of all Yeungnam people reaches the world. Thank you.
네, 한국 사립대 총장.
Thank you very much. That was Dr. Jung Jin-taek, Chairman of the Korean Association of Private University Presidents, who's also serving as the President of Korea University. Thank you very much. Please give him another round of big applause.
이번 축하 공연은 영남대학교 음악대학에 재직 중이신 소프라노 최윤희 교수님과 또 테너 이현 교수님의 성악 공연과
Choi Yoon-hee, tenor Lee Hyun, and baritone Lee Dong-hwan, all of whom are professors from Yeungnam University's College of Music. After that, Korean traditional concert and percussion performance will be showcased by the students of Yeungnam University, with Yeungnam University campus as its background. In addition, we also have a sand art performance which will tell a story of Yeungnam University's 75-year history. First of all, we're going to watch the sand art performance by a performing team called Harang. Please welcome them with a big round of applause.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much. That was a performance by Harang showcasing the history of Yeungnam University, which has greatly contributed to the advancement of the global community by nurturing precious human resources during the past 75 years. It was quite a meaningful performance. Thank you very much, Harang, for that great performance. Now, we're going to enjoy another performance by Yeungnam University's College of Music students who are studying Korean traditional music. Please welcome them with a big round of applause as well.
네, 영남대학
Yes, that was a virtual presentation of their traditional Korean musical performance by Yeungnam University students. Now we are going to have one more special performance which will be presented by the students of Yeungnam University's of College of Music again. They will showcase a percussion ensemble. That was a virtual performance prepared by students of Yeungnam University's College of Music. Thank you very much once again for presenting such wonderful performance despite your busy academic schedule. Thank you very much. Finally, it's time for the finale of today's commemorative performance, which will be presented by professors of Yeungnam University's College of Music. I would like to introduce soprano Professor Choi Yoon-hee and tenor Professor Lee Hyun. And baritone Professor Lee Dong-han was scheduled to participate, but due to health reasons, he couldn't participate. I would like to now welcome them to the podium.
두 곡을 준비를 했습니다.
Well, we prepared two songs, which is first titled The Messenger of Spirit. Today we are celebrating the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University. Together with President Choi Oe-chool of Yeungnam University, I think we are all here to congratulate the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University. And after that song, we would like to sing another song from an opera.
추운 겨울 해치고 봄길 저비 목련화는 시신이여 솟구져요 비가
그대처럼 순결하고 그대처럼 강인하게 오늘도 내일도 영원히 아름답게 살아가리. 오늘 사랑 목련화야 그대 내 사랑 목련화야. 오늘 사랑 목련화야 그대 내 사랑 목련화야. 그대처럼 순결하고 그대처럼 강인하게 오늘도 내일도 영원히 아름답게 살아가리. 오늘 사랑 목련화야 그대 내 사랑 목련화야. 오늘도 내일도 영원히 나 아름답게 살아가리라. Riviamo nelle titani circa bellezza impiora e la puggevol puggevole si ebria voluta liviam ne dolci fremiti che susci dall'amore poiché quell'occhio al cuore onnipotente fa liviamo amore amo fra i calci più caldi baci avrà.
Tra voi saprò di vedere il tempo mio giocondo. Tutto è follia, follia nel mondo, ciò che non è
destin così godiamo la tazza il canti con la notte bella e riso in questo paradiso ne sopra il luogo di ne sopra il di ne sopra il di
네, 아름다운 성악
Yes, thank you very much, professors, for that beautiful performance. And I think human voice is the most beautiful instrument in this world. And I think we were able to feel that once again through this beautiful performance. Please give them another round of big applause. Thank you very much. Now, let's move on to the final segment of today's opening ceremony. It's time for our long-awaited keynote speech titled The Role of Education for the Co-Prosperity in the Global Community, which will be virtually delivered by His Excellency Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who served as the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations. And during his role as the Secretary General, he played an important role in setting the Sustainable Development Goals, which will be achieved by 2030. Let's listen to his keynote speech. Honorable President Oe-chool of Yeungnam University, Dr. Yoon Sang-jae, former Minister of Trade, Industry, and Energy of the Republic of Korea, Dr. Shin Sung-chul, former President of KAIST, Mr. Kim Young-mo, President of Grace and Mercy Foundation, Korea, Mr. King Rotana, President of Western University, Cambodia, and His Excellency Wilbur C. Musa, Ambassador of Zambia to the Republic of Korea, President Son Hyuk-sang of COICA, and Commissioner Mercuria Teklemariam of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, and Mr. Yoon Jong-jin, President of the Local Government Officials Development Institute, and distinguished guests. I would like to sincerely congratulate the opening of this global forum celebrating the 75th anniversary of Yeungnam University under the theme, The Role of Education for the Co-Prosperity in the Global Community. Yeungnam University was established in a tumultuous time between Korea's national independence in 1945 and the Korean War in 1950. Since then, for the past 75 years, it has grown into one of the representative prestigious schools in Korea. In the face of a new challenge of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, it is preparing another leap forward by nurturing creative and free-spirited talents. Especially through the Institute for International Development Cooperation and Park Chung-hee School of Policy and Semaul, or PSPS, it is making a lot of efforts to promote international development cooperation. As a person who led the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals, I feel a great sense of gratitude towards Yeungnam University. This two-day forum that starts today is probably a part of such efforts made by Yeungnam University. I hope that the scholars, politicians, government officials, and students can engage in a constructive, in-depth dialogue so that a fruitful outcome can be achieved. Today, regarding the theme, the role of education for the co-prosperity in the global community, I would like to talk about three things. These are global ODA, Global Citizenship Education, or GCE, and Global Leadership Education. First, I would like to talk about educational ODA. As you already might know, SDG 4, or Sustainable Development Goal number 4, aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. So it's about quality education. Quality education is the foundation for sustainable development. I think Korea is a country that can testify to the fact that education plays a critical role in national development. The prosperity we now enjoy in Korea is obviously thanks to the bold initial investment made into basic education and the expansion in education opportunities and the educational zeal of the people. Education, therefore, equals development. However, global education is in a dismal situation. The elementary school admission rate in developing countries is 91%. However, still 57 million children in developing countries are out of school. More than half of these children live in sub-Saharan Africa. I was able to visit many African countries while serving as the Secretary General of the United Nations. I was surprised to see young kids spending time on streets during daytime. When I asked why these kids are not going to school, the answer was it's not because they don't want to go to school, but there's no school to go to. I felt really sorry for that. To overcome this dismal situation, we need a global effort by the entire humanity, especially advanced countries have to expand ODA in general so that more investments can be made into providing quality education for all. The Republic of Korea must do more compared to other advanced countries. The level of ODA is only about 0.1 or 0.5% of our GDP, and we rank 36 among 37 OECD countries when it comes to the level of ODA. I always felt embarrassed about this as I was working at the United Nations. In 1999, we finished our status as an ODA recipient country, and in 2009, we started to serve as a donor country as a member of the ODA Committee of OECD. Despite the short history of serving as a donor country, the amount of Korea's ODA does not match the economic prowess of the country at all. Now I think the Korean people will agree to expanding ODA. If we expand the absolute volume of ODA, we will be able to do more through educational ODA. I believe when it comes to the methods of developing our educational ODA, many experts would be making suggestions and sharing their insights. Based on my experience as the UN Secretary General, I hope that the educational ODA of Korea could be unique and clear in terms of its objectives and target. A good example of delivering unique educational ODA projects can be found right here in Yeungnam University. Yeungnam University has been sharing the Semaul movement and economic development experiences with developing countries through the PSPS and IIDC and the Semaul department of the school. It has development leaders in economic development field and thus contributed to the eradication of global poverty and mutual prosperity. The Semaul movement is one of the most successful local community development models in the world. Probably these days, young people might think what this movement that took place 5 decades ago in a small East Asian country mean to global sustainable development or the global sustainable development efforts of the world. But when I was serving as the Secretary General of the United Nations, I once visited Rwanda and had a chance to meet with President Paul Kagame. On my way from the airport to the city center, I was surprised to see the well-organized and very clean roads, unlike many other African countries. I was not able to spot any garbage on the road. So, surprised by this fact, I asked the president about the reason why, and he said that it is thanks to what Rwanda learned from Korea. And he showed me a book titled Semaul Movement. As such, the Semail movement is inspiring many leaders in developing countries. I think if other universities, just like Yeungnam University, can offer Korea's unique experiences and systematically deliver it in universal languages, they will be able to make very special contributions to the sustainable development of developing countries. One another thing I would like to stress is that universities should focus more on the girls' education in developing countries. I emphasize the development of the African continent when it comes to the realization of the SDGs. Political stabilization and human right protection are the two most essential factors for the development of African countries and other developing countries. Especially the protection of human rights for women and their mobilization as a workforce is critical. In primary education, gender inequality is being improved. However, if we fail to give its due attention, gender inequality will rather deteriorate than improve. And this will wield a negative influence on the development of developing countries in the long run. So, in this context, I hope that educational ODA can focus on girls' education. Next, I would like to move on to talk about Global Citizenship Education, or GCE. I cannot stress enough that the entire world has now become one village. The COVID-19 pandemic was a painful reminder of this fact that the humanity is sharing one village. And it was a painful lesson that we learned through COVID-19. To maintain a community, whichever community that is, the members of that community should take responsibility. The same applies to the global community. We need to fulfill our responsibility and duty as a member of the global community. We must practice the ethics as global citizens. Each and every one of us is not only citizens of our nation, but citizens of the world. We are global citizens. The citizenship as a national citizen and global citizenship have many overlaps. However, the responsibilities as a global citizen are sometimes different from those of a national citizen, and sometimes they go beyond national citizenship. The global community is much more diverse and prone to conflicts than nations, and sometimes a rational decision for a nation state may not be rational considering the entire global community. In fact, the world's ecological environment is now facing a climate crisis due to such tragedy of the commons. Now all countries must make sure their people become global citizens who take on responsibility as global citizens. And this is what global citizenship education is about. According to UNESCO, a global citizen, in short, is a person who actively works to secure a world which is more just, peaceful, tolerant, inclusive, secure, and sustainable. Therefore, GCE, Global Citizenship Education, is to nurture talents to implement SDGs, and that is why it can be called also as an SDG education. I believe in GCE, the most important part is education on climate crisis response. Because if we fail to achieve climate crisis response, we won't be able to achieve other SDGs. Among 17 SDGs, this is why education is important, and this is why global citizenship education is important. During my term as the UN Secretary General, this is why I led the signing of a binding international agreement, which is called the Paris Climate Agreement. Under the Paris Climate Agreement, A 1.5-degree increase in global temperature marks a critical point for the globe's ecosystem. And without global efforts, we will reach that critical point by year 2050. But in last year's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC meeting, we projected that between 2021 and 2040, we will reach that critical point, which is about 10 years earlier than we projected during the Paris conference. So there's only about 20 years left, so we need to act now. And at the center of that action is cutting down on carbon emissions drastically. Without it, there is no way forward. However, achieving carbon neutrality is not an easy task because our current economic structure and lives are based on carbon. So we need to undertake a great transformation on the way we live. To carry out this unprecedented transformation, government, the private sector, and all individuals need to work together proactively. We also need a great change in our perception. With our existing way of living and thinking, we cannot create an alternative civilization with carbon neutrality. Through official education and lifelong learning, we need to actively implement GCE to nurture talents with global citizenship and new alternative perspectives. If the old generation is too rigid in thoughts and cannot change their perception, we need to at least make sure that the next generation receives ample opportunities to have these new perspectives. This is why I met with the educational prime minister and 17 superintendents all across the nation and stressed that environment education should be emphasized in our educational system. This cannot be overstressed. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about global leadership education. To achieve sustainable development goals and the Paris Agreement, we need to develop global leaders capable of responding to global challenges. As the Secretary General of the United Nations, I experienced many challenges, and I was reminded of the difficulty of managing conflict of interest among member states. So looking back, I think despite the divide in opinions between advanced countries and developing countries and each individual state, it was a miracle that we were able to sign the Paris Agreement. The COP26 conference held in Glasgow November last year once again showed how difficult it is to manage conflicting interests to overcome the climate crisis and to achieve carbon neutrality. At this COP26 conference, even though we were able to sign the Glasgow Climate Pact, we failed to agree on a call to phase out coal use and instead ambiguously decided to reduce coal use gradually. This let down on our expectation. However, we should not be discouraged. We need to have a positive mindset and hope despite continuing hardships. I think looking back on my experience as the Secretary General of the United Nations, the most required capability of a global leader is the ability to understand the complexity of global challenges and to be able to manage conflicting interests of different stakeholders. One good example I often cite is the massacre occurred in Darfur, Sudan. On the outside, it seems like a political human rights crisis. However, behind the incident are many complicated reasons, and one of the fundamental reasons is climate change. Starting from the 1980s, the southern part of Sudan experienced severe drought. This is because greenhouse gas emission that increased temperature got rid of the seasonal monsoons on the Indian Ocean. And because of this, precipitation in southern Sudan dropped by more than 40%. And this led to a conflict between the northern Arabs who were engaged in livestock and herding and the southern Christians who were farming, and the massacre started. As such, global conflicts happening all across the world are due to many complicated reasons. Global leaders, therefore, must be aware of such complex nature of global challenges, because understanding such complexity is often the starting point of managing different stances and narrowing the gap to manage conflicts. Without understanding the real reasons behind the conflicts, we cannot resolve that conflict. Accurate scientific perception starts with warm empathy and understanding. In the 21st century, we are seeing more international conflicts and more complex global challenges. So global leaders should have this empathy and understanding. We usually think that a good leader is a charismatic leader. However, if we do not want a temporary fix to a problem using force, we can not rely on such strong charisma in resolving global challenges and international conflicts. So today's global leader must have patience and start from building trust with different stakeholders. Instead of just talking, they have to have humility, diligence, and they have to lead by example. And this is what they need to persuade others. I call such leadership a water-like leadership, as the highest excellence is like water, as Lao Tzu said. However, we call this leadership. What I want to stress is that we need to make sure our educational system nurtures global talents for the sustainable development of the world. I shared my thoughts and experience on this topic of the role of education for the co-prosperity in the global community. Once again, I would like to congratulate Yeungnam University's Global Forum's opening and wish health and luck to all participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The role of education for the co-prosperity in the global community was the theme of His Excellency Pan Ki-moon's keynote speech. Thank you very much once again. And ladies and gentlemen, please give him another round of big applause. And now, before we conclude this opening ceremony, we are now going to sing the Yeungnam University theme song. If you could all rise, please.
보라 여기 신라에 있다 민족의 혼이 살피는 곳 금호한 기슭 달구버런도 장엄하다 진리의 전당 어둠과 거짓 물리치려고 밝음과 참됨 가르치시네 너 슬기로운 젊은 아이들아 억센 젊은 힘들아 새 역사의 창조
Thank you very much. Please take your seats again. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude this opening ceremony,